question that's coming. The question is, shouldn't married couples cease sexual activity after having had kids? I mean, isn't the point of sex just to procreate? Once you're done with it, you just need to stop doing that naughty stuff.
What on earth kind of a question is that? And what kind of a person would ask a question
Apparently
like that?
there are people who believe that.
Seriously.
Because apparently God said, make another.
Okay, do we have to answer questions from the lunatic fringe?
No, there's literally a group of people who believe that
Yes,
sexual union be for
There is
procreation.
literally a lunatic fringe.
Yeah, and after that, like...
Okay, I shouldn't be insulting. I need to give you good Bible answers.
Yeah, you are being rather insulting. Look at you causing offence left and right. We're going to get sued.
We need to have our faith. We need to have our faith based on good Bible answers. So let me give you a good Bible answer.
But they got it from the Bible,
Let me read to you what the Bible says.
Unnecessarily expelling
The Bible
energy.
says this. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 2. Each man should have his own wife, and each woman should have her own husband. That's good advice. Continues on. The husband should fulfill his wife's sexual needs, and the wife should fulfill her husband's sexual needs. The wife gives authority over her body to her husband, and the husband gives authority over his body to his wife. Do not deprive each other of sexual relations. Is that clear enough? This is what the Bible says. Unless you both agree to refrain from sexual intimacy for a limited time so that you can give yourselves more completely to prayer. Afterward, you should come back together again so that Satan won't be able to tempt you because of your lack of self-control. I think the Bible is rather clear on that. I don't think I need to say anymore. I just got to read what the Bible says. The Bible says don't hold back from each other.
I think you might have to give us that reference once more because I'm sure people out there are like, what?
1
The Bible says what?
1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 2 through 5. And if you are out there thinking, what? The Bible says what? Then try reading the book Song of Solomon sometime. This is a book that would definitely in today's world carry an X rating.
Yes.
It is sensual. It is explicit. It details body parts and sexual responses. Everything is right there in the book Song of Solomon. In fact, it is a whole book of erotica. There is a reason why that book is in the Bible. And the primary reason is not, people's like, it's about, it's an allegory between God and the church. Okay, yes. But the primary reason is because God speaks to every aspect of the human being and the human life and everything that's involved in being a human being. And one of those, a major part of those, is human sexuality. And the Bible would be incomplete without a book on human sexuality. That's why God put it there.
Because God created sexuality, God created sex, so why wouldn't he have an authoritative and a
beautiful illustration of how this relationship can and should work.
People are quite aghast when they realise how much sex is in the Bible, but it really only stands to make sense. We still have that leftover Victorian era kind of, oh no, how dare we kind of attitude, don't we?
The Victorian era, you're actually right there, the Victorian era, this was a cultural issue. It's got nothing to do with the Bible. It's got nothing to do with past history of human sexuality within Christianity or other religions. But it was an era that combined a number of things together. One, you had a British Empire in which the sun never set. The Victorian era, the Victorian culture was also United States culture at that particular time. So it was the English-speaking world. So it was widespread, and it was the era of missions. And so this whole concept of prudishness was spread to the entire world. They invented the words like the word limb. You know why they invented the word limb?
Why?
Because leg was too sensual to come out of a person's mouth. I'm dead serious.
It's just so sad.
You study the Victorians, they were a crazy bunch.
And it's so sad they did it all under the garb of religious.
Yeah, it's just like, the Ban Everything Brigade came in and like, if it's fun, it must be, it has to be wrong. It has to be wrong somewhere. It was a funny thing because, back in the height of Victorian prudishness, there was a guy who was promoting this kind of concept within our church, within the Adventist church. And he came to one of the founders of our church, a woman by the name of Ellen White, and she refused to have anything to do with him. She's like, no, this guy's a nut job, this is a lunatic friend. She refused to have anything to do with him whatsoever at all. And put him off. But he was really persistent. So eventually, he comes in, he sits down, and he gives her his whole study on, why this should be the case. And, once you've had children, it's only for that purpose. And once that, it's over. She heard him all through, didn't say anything. At the end, she said, you need to go home, be with your wife, and be a man.
Message for you married people out there. Continue enjoying your sexual relations. It's all good in the sight of God. Of course, in a marriage context. Thank you so much for answering that, Lyle. If you have a question, give us a call here. Our number, of course, is 1-800-FAITH-FM, 1-800-324-843. Send us any question you like.